They are now doing this to be able to declare martial law in essentially any city in America that they want. And they already have. This is happening right now in multiple cities in America. They have declared martial law and they have troops on the street. This is happening in multiple states, multiple cities around the country, and actually around the world. This is happening right now. This is a coordinated effort, but especially in the US, this is happening right now, and they can target any city they want, and this will be the way that they declare martial law and they implement their agenda. They're going to be implementing travel restrictions. They're going to have checkpoints. All these things are on the table, and we need to be getting ready, and we need to be getting prepared right now, because they just rolled out more troops on the streets. And this is a federal emergency, by the way. These are federal troops by Biden himself being.
All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham HaRakakodash. Double honors to our apostle elders, which rule Great Millstone Wow, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba ball. So this is prophesied that this would take place in the last days. 2nd Ezra 15. It says in verse 1, Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, which the Lord has his prophets, which are the Israelite men that you see making these videos, standing on the corners, trying to reach our people pertaining to the elect. Alright? Now I'm going to jump down. It says in verse 5, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Alright, and that's the time we're in. The Lord is bringing the plagues upon the world, and part of them plagues is martial law, which you're going to have FEMA camps, you're going to have famine, alright, you're going to have war in the streets of America. Because as this man, which I believe he's an Edomite, continues to explain, they're at war internally. You got National Guard on the state level pretty much in battle with the federal level. Alright, which this is biblical. And the Lord has them divided. Them, I'm talking about the house of Satan, the so-called white man, the devil the Bible speaks of. Verse 10, Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. And as you see all these people that are of Israelite descent, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians coming into America, that are in America, alright, they're being brought here to be slaughtered. That's why the southern border is open. Alright, and that's why you got bread and circuses going on in America, which is the modern day Rome, to deceive the people that everything is okay, safety, but sudden destruction is what is about to take place. It says, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, speaking about America, because America is slavery. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues, as before, as he done to ancient Egypt, he's going to do to this modern Egypt, America, and will destroy all the land thereof. And if you need them to tell you that they're Egypt, look at the back of the dollar bill. Alright, on the back of the dollar bill you have the Egyptian pyramid, and then on the other side you have the American Great Seal, right? Which is an eagle. And in between them, it says one. It doesn't say $1. It says one. Egypt and America are on the same vibration. They are one. Verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword, that so-called white race, and their destruction draweth nigh. And it tells you in Revelation 12 that they're going to come down with great wrath in verse 12, but also that's going to bring forth our salvation and their judgment in Revelation 11 going into 12. Yahweh Shai and the angels, they're watching everything this devil's doing and planning and plotting against his elect, and the Lord's going to intervene by sending angels to minister to us, but then eventually Yahweh Shai to gather us, to protect us. It says, for the sword and their destruction draw nigh. The destruction of the white race is going to be by nuclear missiles. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. But you're going to have war on every level. Civil war, race war, class war, world war, war in heaven. It says, and swords in their hands, weapons. For there shall be sedition among men. So there is already sedition. I hear these Edomites talking about standing up and fighting against their government on YouTube all day long. You got it on BitChute, you got it on Britain, you got it on Rumble, you got it on Alex Jones' channel, banned videos. Alright? These Edomites, the so-called Caucasians, are speaking about going against their government, which I'm going to let that video play a little more, Lord willing. And he's going to tell you that your National Guard is even at war with the federal level. Alright, so America's divided, and a house that is divided, a kingdom that is divided cannot stand, but has an end. Alright? It says, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. So on January 6th, you might have been able to get everybody, into safety. Nobody really got hurt. You're able to now bring charges against your citizens, right, in sedition and in terrorist acts. But this next time, they're not going to stop. All right, just because Trump tells them to, stop, they're not going to stop. They're not going to care, because they're going to know completely in their heart that their government is trying to kill them with famine, with the weapon, with the soldier, with bioweapons, okay, with chemicals, with toxins. All right, so the people are going to rise up against their government, which is already happening in other countries, but will eventually be here in America, and it's going to be the worst here in America. All right, there's a great judgment for America, and this judgment is going to be handed out by violence. All right, it's going to be a very violent place to live in America. It already is, really. If you look at what's going on, if you have an eye to see. It says, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. The Lord's going to make them do it. All right, there ain't no man, really leading these people into these actions. Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, which on the left hand they got Satan, but they're ministering to these people, the will of Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai, which you have angels that minister evil or minister good. Alright, so this is all according to the will of Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Martial law, travel ban. For because of their pride, your leadership, your rulers, the so-called white supremacists that rule the world, your elite class of bankers and the ones that make your laws and control you, all right, behind the scenes, which they use these meat puppets that you call politicians to hide themselves. It says, the house shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. All right, so for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, martial law, war, famine, death, and destruction. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right? Which there is going to be a famine. There's going to be a famine of the word where we're not allowed to preach on the street no more because of persecution. And, they're going to hate us because of this truth. But also because of war that's going to start taking place in the streets of America. All right? Because there's not going to be no more bread. All right? You can look it up for yourself. Russia is pulling back on diesel. Diesel, all right, you need gas to make diesel, but you need diesel to get gas. You need diesel for bread because that bread that's in your store, even the flour to make bread, comes to your local area on diesel. Whether it's a diesel train or a diesel semi, all right? And that's why there's going to be a lack of bread. They're pulling back on the resources, all right? And they're using the war for the excuse to do it. But in fact, it's a plan. It's a plan from your actual Illuminati, which they got from my power, Yahweh, the power of Israel, which the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians of North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbeans, which we've been scattered throughout the world in slavery. All right? And this is why it's called Jacob's Trouble, because the so-called white race, in fact, they want to destroy the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, and they're going to use famine just like they did to the North American Indian. They killed all the buffalo. All right? The reason they did that was so that they could starve the Indian out of the land. All right, to bring them into those FEMA camps, bring them into those reservation lands, right? Well, that's what they're going to do to America. They're going to starve you out, have FEMA camps for you with food in it, a little bit of food that they're going to say is there, a little blanket, whatever. But then they're going to make it mandatory that you have a implantable microchip put inside your body for tracking, for buying and selling, as prophesied in Revelation 13. And in Revelation 14, it tells you that any Israelite that takes that device and accepts it to be implanted in your body, you're going to be destroyed for your unfaithfulness to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, because that act is an abomination, a filthy act. It's an act of betrayal. All right? It's better to die than to be conformed to this wicked ass world. All right? Now, I'm going to get in the same book, Zechariah, actually, in the same Bible app. Let me just stay here. Let me get Zechariah 14. I'll just read one and go on. Zechariah 14:1, behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem. That's why it's Jacob's trouble. All right? The Lord's going to gather all these nations, which they said. You can look it up on Dave Hodges. I hope to do a sit-down on it, the Common Sense Show. All right? He brought out the actual paperwork the CIA released on Civil War. All right? When Civil War happens, which we're in an actual Civil War right now, if you look at the numbers of murders that take place every day, we live in a war zone. On top of the suicide rate, all right? And then now, you heard him declare that there's about to be, it is martial law. It is. They just ain't announced it to you and made it public. But everybody that's in the know knows. All right, we're in martial law. Stop denying it. And everybody just keeps going to fucking work, hoping this place fucking continues, and you ain't gonna fucking know it until it smacks you right in your fucking face. Man, fuck this world, and fuck this life that's in it. All right, we're at the end of this shit. Fuck your job, fuck your apartment, and fuck all them that don't believe. Man, we're trying to be saved out of this bitch. We ain't trying to stay in this motherfucker. You hear a lot of men talking about this judgment coming, but in their heart, they really don't want it to come. Because they really want this place to continue. We don't want this fucking place to continue. Fuck this place, man. I hope they bring that shit, that motherfucking chip out today. Make that motherfucker mandatory today. Let's go. All right? Fuck this place, man. It says in verse 2, for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. So Israel is going to be attacked by all these nations. And they said in that document that the CIA put out, which once again, it's on the Dave Hodges show, Common Sense show. Dave Hodges is the host. That they're going to bring in the UN troops, which the UN troops, I believe, is like 196 countries, including Russia, including China. All right? And those troops are going to come in and spoil the civilians. All right? They're going to torture, rape, murder, steal, all right? All that shit. It says, and the city shall be taken, right? Taken in war, and the houses rifled, meaning destroyed. And if you go back to any war zone, all right, like Libya, like Syria, all right, they were actually functioning, prospering cities that when they came into war, they became rubble. That's what's going to happen to America. All right, it's going to literally go from overnight, a functioning, everybody's going to work, going to school, kids at the playground, kids at daycare, right? To a fucking war zone, man. And that's why I said, fuck your job, fuck your apartment, your house, whatever the fuck you got here, fuck it, because you got to go through a fucking war. And you ain't going to have a house. They're going to take it from you. All right? You're not going to have a job. There ain't going to be no job to go to. There ain't even going to be no food. There ain't going to be no job stocking shelves. Man, the job you're going to have is staying alive. And the only way you're going to make it is if Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is with you. That's what you should be focused on. You should be focused on what matters. And I'm talking to myself first, obviously. The Holy Spirit, it comes through men, but when it comes through, it's a double-edged sword. So it also cuts us also. So we have to prepare our souls, but we also have to go out and preach this gospel, telling our people to prepare their souls to meet their Maker. Because these are the signs of Yahweh's return, and He's returning to judge the world. And you're going to get a reward whether your deeds were good or whether your deeds were evil. It says, and the women ravished. Why are the women going to get raped? I thought women were so innocent and soft. No, the women, they're in bed with the devil. The so-called white man is the devil. And you see what they've done to our women. They so-called liberate them. They're literally the enemy to the men. The men are the leaders of the house, not the woman. And now Esau gave the woman of our nation the power to take our children and dangle them over our head like a carrot. So these women have how to pay, man. This is their kingdom. These women, they feel like they're beneath us, but this is your kingdom. This is what you made with Esau, our enemy. So you get everything you deserve, man. And you're going to be ravished, meaning raped. All right, I was watching this story about a Jake girl coming up from South America to America as a migrant and looking for a better life, and she was 15 years old, and the coyotes, which the cartel, in the video, once again, I hope to do a sit down on it, Lord willing, but they say cartel are not allowed to just kill or rape whoever they want. There's a certain order that takes place, right? He said this is cartel. I mean, not cartel, it's coyotes. And I just did a sit down off the redacted interview where they interviewed a man that worked for Homeland Security, and he said that the coyote is working with the U.S. federal government. Those are U.S. federal agents raping 15-year-old girls, all right, and murdering them, because that 15-year-old girl said she was going to be murdered afterward. They were going to get rid of her body by murder, all right? So that shows you what kind of people we're dealing with. They're murderers, and they're going to draw everybody into society to murder each other, whether it's over bread, whether it's over tribulation, whether it's in whatever, they got to do, they're going to do it to get you to kill each other, all right? And that's why there's going to be a shortage of bread. It says, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. That captivity is those FEMA camps. They're going to take you in those FEMA camps because you're going to think there's safety there, because you get a bed and a blanket, maybe a biscuit, all right? And guess what? They're going to say you need to have this implantable microchip in your body, and if you take it, you're going to be destroyed with it. And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. So there's a limit the Lord's going to take, and then he's going to send Yahushua. He's going to send Michael, the archangel, to fight for us. But then he's also going to send his son, Yahushua, to deliver us. That's why it says, verse 3, then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon Mount Olives, which is before Jerusalem, which he's going to come back and destroy the army of troops, the world's troops, which are going to be gathered in the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's why the Euphrates River is drying. All right? It says, the Mount of Olives shall, it says, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and a half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and a half of it toward the south. Which there's going to be a great judgment on the earth. There's going to be nuclear destruction of America, and then the destruction of all the armies that are gathered in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Which, as you just heard, in the great earthquake, all right, the Lord's going to turn this land to give us new land. See, that land over there is defiled by their filthy acts of the bastards, the counterfeits that are in our land today. The promised land, the land of Israel, which they commit, abominations. Look at Pink City. All right, so the Lord has to destroy that land and renew it, all right, as well as destroy America and seal it, right? Because America's going to be destroyed, but it's not going to be renewed like the land of Israel. It's going to be made into a desert, all right? Now I'm gonna go back to that video.
Sent out, all right? The Biden administration is sending these troops out, and they actually have around 3,300 personnel out right now working on this. And it's kind of a battle, actually. There's kind of a internal battle going on between the federal government and the state governments right now, and this is not good, right? They